Is there a problem here, old man? The voice was sharp, laced with the kind of confidence that comes from never being truly tested. Colonel Ryan Barrett stood in the second-floor corridor of the Pentagon, hands on his hips, glaring down at the elderly janitor who was slowly replacing a trash bag beside his cleaning cart. Barrett's uniform was crisp, his medals gleaming, and his newly promoted ego was on full display. The old man, Jack Reeves, continued his work with deliberate, unhurried movements. His hands were weathered by age and old injuries, but they moved with calm precision. When he looked up, his pale blue eyes met the colonel's gaze with quiet composure. He didn't appear startled or intimidated, just observant. This placid reaction only fueled Barrett's impatience. I asked you a question. You're blocking the entire corridor. People have places to be, missions to accomplish. This isn't some retirement home where you can shuffle around at your own pace. Jack carefully tied off the trash bag and placed it in his cart. He offered a slight nod. My apologies, Colonel. I'll be done in just a moment. He made no move to hurry. That composure, that refusal to be rushed irritated Barrett even more. It felt like defiance, a quiet challenge to his authority. Barrett had just been assigned to the Pentagon, and he expected immediate respect from everyone. This old janitor probably didn't even know who he was. Being done isn't enough, Barrett said, stepping closer. You and people like you wander around this building like you own the place. There are rules here, protocols. Everyone needs to move with purpose, including you. A few passing officers and civilian staff had slowed, taking notice. Barrett's voice echoed down the corridor. Eyes were on them now, and Barrett was aware of it. Young officers were watching. This would be a lesson in command presence. Jack simply looked at him. No expression, just that measured, steady gaze. Understood, Colonel. I'll be more mindful next time. But Barrett wasn't finished. I'm not sure you do understand. This is the Pentagon, the most important military facility in the world, and you're here mopping floors. A sneer crossed his face. What did you do before this? What unit did you serve in? Or did you even wear the uniform at all? Silence fell over the corridor. Something flickered in Jack's eyes, brief, deep, ancient. But he said nothing. He simply lowered his head and began to push his cart away. Stop! Barrett's voice cracked like an order. I'm not done with you. Show me your ID badge. Maybe you're not even authorized to be here. That's when a deep voice cut through the tension. Colonel Barrett! The voice carried weight, authority, and an unmistakable edge. Everyone turned. At the end of the corridor stood three-star General Mark Hayes. Beside him was a senior enlisted man, Sergeant Major Dan Foster. The general's face was stone, but his eyes saw everything. Barrett's face went pale. He snapped to attention and saluted. General, sir. Good afternoon, sir. The general didn't even glance at him. He walked directly toward Jack. When he reached the old man, he stopped and looked at him with profound respect. Jack still stood beside his cleaning cart, a trash bag in one hand. Mr. Reeves, the general said, his voice quiet but heavy with meaning. I didn't expect to see you again. Jack met his gaze in silence. After all those years, he'd been recognized. Sir, he said quietly, it's been a long time. The general nodded, a very long time. Then he turned to Barrett. His look on his face was cold as ice. Colonel, do you know who this man is? Barrett was confused. Sir, I was just, no, you don't, because if you did, you wouldn't have spoken to him that way. He paused. Mr. Reeves, if you'll permit me, I'd like to ask you one question. What was your call sign? The silence in the corridor deepened. Everyone waited. A shadow crossed Jack's face. He was about to speak a word that had been buried for decades. Havoc, sir. The weight of that single word filled the corridor. Havoc. General Hayes's face froze. His eyes widened. Sergeant Major Foster took a step back, staring at Jack as if looking at a legend come to life. Havoc, the general's voice trembled. You're really him. Barrett understood nothing. Sir, what's Havoc? The general turned, his eyes blazing with barely controlled anger. Havoc, Colonel, was the call sign of a Delta Force operator deployed to Mogadishu in 1994. You've heard of Black Hawk Down, I assume. Of course you have. But you haven't heard of Havoc, because he wasn't even there. He was in the city the day before, alone. He paused, steadying his breath. Havoc, Colonel, is a legend told at Fort Bragg, a story told to young operators. They say, if Havoc could do it, so can you. He turned back to Jack. This man, the man you just humiliated, is someone who knows what it means to survive. He chooses to stay quiet, to work with a low profile, but that doesn't erase what he did. Barrett's world collapsed. His face turned ashen. In a trembling voice, he managed to, Sir, I didn't know. You didn't know, the general said coldly, because you made assumptions, and assumptions, Colonel, end military careers. Sergeant Major Foster approached Jack. Mr. Reeves, he said respectfully, I'd like to invite you for coffee, sir. Jack gave a slight smile. Thank you, Sergeant Major, but I need to finish this corridor first. Wouldn't be right to leave the job half done. General Hayes nodded. I understand. Then I'll wait for you in my office, Mr. Reeves. Please. Jack pushed his cart slowly down the corridor. Behind him, he left a shattered colonel, a humbled general, and a lesson no one would forget.